past 8 days, I've been to runway shows, intimate after parties, spoken exclusively to some of New York's top designers, and caught up with more than a few celebrities. Behind me, you're seeing the takedown of the Marc Jacobs show, the last show that officially closed Fashion Week. Marc Jacobs, always one to surprise the crowd by changing his usual Monday showing to later in the week, proved to us that there is definitely a reason to save the best for last, as he closed New York Fashion Week for the first time with a live performance by Sonic Youth. Perhaps you overheard Fergie telling me backstage earlier this week at his Marc by Marc Jacobs show that she wanted to borrow some of the pieces off the runway.
I love the boots. I wanted to rip them off of the runway. They're fabulous.
New fall looks debuted not only on the fall runways, but seated in the front row on some of Hollywood's most glamorous starlets, flashing their veneers to extreme paparazzi mayhem. This week, it was good to be in Amy Smart, Sophia Bush, and Julianne Moore's Louboutins, as we spotted the bunch at more than a few shows throughout the week. ELLE editor-in-chief Roberta Myers and creative director Josie took Rihanna to the Parenza Schooler show, where she turned heads with her chic new haircut. She must have gotten an early memo, because I saw a shift from this spring's trend of clothing inspired by art to artistically sculptural statement hair for fall. Jay Mindell and Brian Reyes edited their invitees to an intimate group privy to a grand runway show in the newly renovated historic New York Plaza Hotel, while Tommy Hilfiger took over Lincoln Center, transforming Avery Fisher Hall into a runway at dusk. It's normal during Fashion Week to find it easier to get a glass of champagne than a bottled water, but even the most seasoned fashion veterans were floored by the extravagant gala hosted by Gucci and Madonna at the UN. In her speech, Madonna admitted nervously that it's much easier for her to perform to a soccer field full of 80,000 people than to the much smaller group of fashion attendees. But one had to wonder, who was holding down the fort in Hollywood Wednesday evening, as a very pregnant J.Lo glowed in 5-inch heels next to Katie Holmes looking stunningly statuesque in crimson. And Gwyneth Paltrow brought us back to her famous Oscar moment, donning a gorgeous pink sleeveless Gucci as she danced to Rihanna's live performance. Despite the extravagance of all of the fashion parties, the runway fashion that we saw for fall was much more restrained. Parenza Schooler was such a departure from last season, very mature for fall. Get on the waiting list for the duo's fall accessories. Everyone adored them. And Michael Kors was one of the numerous designers that told me that they wanted to abandon the idea of women dressed as girls for fall in exchange for more sophisticated shapes.
See, there'll be no baby doll dresses, there'll be no mini skirts, no platform shoes, no women dressed as children. You know, we look back and we think about mid-century modernism, and you think about the Hitchcock movies and how classically chic they are, and then you think about how young Hollywood is subverting that today.
At Rodarte, the show is more like an exhibition of art. The master of heeled art, Christian Louboutin himself, attended the show to keep a watchful eye over the sexy spiked heels he designed exclusively for Rodarte. I shed a silent tear as he told me those exact pairs won't be in stores. But I hear a rumor there's a similar version for fall, so get your sleeping bags ready. I can only imagine the lineup. This season, we saw the resurgence and resurrection of a few major houses. The houses of Hervé Leger, Halston, and Bill Blass. Max Azria debuted his first Leger collection on the runway, to much applause.
So, first of all, you are going to see what I call today the resurrection of Hervé Leger. That is a very, very important day.
While Max may have modernized Leger's signature restrained silhouette, the sheer sexiness still knocks you out. Peter Somm has definitely found his bearings at Bill Blass, turning out a standing ovation-worthy collection full of modernism feathers and jewel tone colors. Peter's collection was right in step with the multitude of jewel tones debuting for fall. Look for rich mustard, earthy green, and the return of purple come autumn. If you're seeking justification for indulging on that gorgeous Dries Van Noten floral dress you've been coveting for spring, go ahead. Floral is not going anywhere for fall, especially if Cocoon, Oscar de la Renta, and Vera Wang have anything to say about it. Mixing pattern and all things plaid should also be on your fall radar, as should a trip to net-a-porter.com to check out the fall collection you should be dreaming about, Jonathan Saunders. Jonathan, we welcome you and your sophisticated urban sensibility to New York. We think you'll be just fine. Stay with us for continuing coverage of Milan and Paris Fashion Weeks throughout the next month. And if you're lucky enough to be traveling to the shows, here's a tip from top model Lisa Kant. I caught up with her backstage and she gave me some invaluable packing advice, which I think you'll find genius too.
So I try and always bring one empty bag, one empty small suitcase inside my other one, because inevitably I'll buy things and have to take them home, and it has to fit somehow.
I'm Aliyah Ahmed Yahya. See you next Fashion Week. In the meantime, stay current with all the emerging trends by checking out my video series, 60 Second Style, on elle.com.